Hi, it's Alexander Russo with The Grade, and I'm delighted to be here today on the Education Show with Ty Holmes from iReady. Ty, welcome to the show.
Hey, thanks, Alex. Appreciate it.
For people who may not know, what is iReady and how many schools is it in?
So that's a big question. I actually don't have the exact number of schools, but let's start with Curriculum Associates as a company, right? We've
Okay,
been in existence since 1969. We
okay,
started, like most companies back then, as a print company, and our founders' dream was to make classrooms a better place for teachers and students. Uh, and that started with creating supplemental material and that supported kids with reading and eventually grew to math. Now
got
with
it.
iReady, there are a lot of products within our company that bear the iReady name. So I'd love an opportunity just to clear up some of the confusion of giving all of your kids the exact same name. So there's the iReady assessment suite. That is a host of assessments, one of which is a kindergarten through 12th grade adaptive screener for reading and mathematics. And
Okay,
what that assessment does is it lets educators and students know exactly where students are on a K-12 spectrum down to the subskill level or the domain level for reading and math.
okay,
So what that means, Alex, is if you were in a fifth grade class and your teacher's teaching you math, and you might be sitting there in a fifth grade class and you're on a fourth grade level with number and operation, a third grade level with algebraic thinking, a fifth grade level with geometry, and a second grade level with measurement, and that's just one person, right? A teacher then has that information for all of her students, whether they
o-
are above or below. And
okay,
then that data from that assessment is actionable and it can be tied to instruction, teacher led instruction with
hmm
print lesson plans, and also for the districts that have adopted an online personalized pathway that is referred to as iReady My Path.
okay,
Right? On top of that, we have a core math curriculum that we've also named iReady Classroom Mathematics.
got it.
And that's a tier one math curriculum. And we have a core reading curriculum, supplemental material, and a new science curriculum that's coming.
Okay, it's totally clear to me now. Is the assessment or the pathways, which is the one that people think they're mad at? Whether that's
Well,
based on
I
understandings or
think
not.
what we've been hearing a lot from our districts is there's a lot of energy around screen time, right?
Right.
Parents are concerned about screen time, they're concerned about phones, they're concerned about social media, they're concerned about all of these things. And so the conversation is then screen time in schools. So my like what we hear is folks are thinking about specifically, which is a good thing. How much time are kids spending on screens in schools? What
Right.
are the outcomes? What are the efficacy? So what we've heard a lot about from our partner districts is folks looking at iReady instruction, the online MyPath, right? As well as all of the other resources that they're using in a district. And
Mhm.
that's, I think, becoming the sort of the fervor in the conversation.
Got it. Speaking of district partners, we're at the end of the school year now. Can you catch me up on whether anybody has made a big decision about coming on board, renewing,
Well,
non-renewing?
well, I can't really, go into all of the sort of customer decisions
No,
there.
I'm just talking about publicly announced. I know that some of the
Oh,
school
well,
boards were
well,
making public decisions.
I think the one of the things that came out in the news is in LA, they've gotten rid of all screens kindergarten through second grade, right?
Right.
My understanding in that is they're still using our assessment at those grades, and then they put parameters around, I think it's 3.5 or 3.6, and then 6.8 or 6.9 in terms of screen time. So it's
Right.
impacting every one of their partners that has any technological offerings.
And what about Lower Merion? Did Lower Merion make a public decision?
I don't know. I'd have to forgive me. I'd have to ask. I may not be the best person for that one.
Okay, great. So, What do you think the biggest myth or misconception is out there, either among the public or among the journalists who are covering the edtech story right now? What are people getting wrong?
Well, what I would say is I think there's a lot of course, concern and energy around screen time, as we've talked about. But educators are working hard. The teachers are at the center, right, of their learning classroom, and they're using a host of tools. What I've heard that, I think is probably the most egregious is this notion that teachers are putting kids on computers and leaving the room, and the kids are on computers all day for 6 hours. Like, that's not happening. Educators are using tools for specific learning across a host of courses and curriculums for kids.
So the babysitting all day, the modern day version of putting kids in front of a movie projector, that's a
Yeah.
misconception. That's not happening.
The educational leaders I've talked to have been clear that that's not happening. Teachers are working tremendously hard. Education is a hard job. I mean, what we talked about earlier. Imagine, like, flip it. Imagine you're not the student. Imagine you're a fifth grade or a sixth grade or a seventh grade teacher.
Right.
If you're a middle school teacher, you've got a whole host of preps, right? So you see 30 times, X number of preps, 90 plus, 120 kids. And each of those kids, you are mandated to teach them grade level content. But they all come in different places in terms of their understanding of that content and their relationship with it K-12. And you have a finite amount of time,
right,
to try to figure out how to give kids what they need, but also hold to the mandate, which is great tier 1 grade level pedagogy. That is a tough job.
right.
And, just supporting our educators that are doing that job is really important.
The complaint that's registered to me, and knock it down if it's a misunderstanding, is that kids get on to iReady and it's janky. It's not fast or adaptive as a teacher or a parent might be. Is that accurate? Is that fair?
No, I would add more context. So when the students take the screener, right, when that data comes back, the teachers, they have teacher-led instructional resources, and then
Right.
again, the option for MyPath Online.
Right.
Those are high-quality lessons that mirror the pedagogy that educators themselves are delivering, but they're touching on grade level content that may be below grade level at certain lessons for kids that need it so that they can fully participate in the grade level instruction.
Right.
And on average, we're talking about, our recommendations have been 30 to about 49-ish minutes a week, like, per subject.
From
Data
MyPath.
shows, right, for MyPath, our data shows that the vast majority of students are coming in, or schools are coming in, around 30 minutes. Like just 30 minutes a week.
A week.
So it's really used as a tool for instruction, and mostly on content that in a perfect world a kid would have mastered before they got to your fifth grade class, Alex.
Okay. So I had a great math teacher in high school, and I was not a great math student. He could figure out what I was missing, and give me some practice on it and get me back towards where I was supposed to be or where I wanted to go. Is MyPath able to diagnose with the assessment, and then figure out where the kid is putting things in the wrong column, and do that work, that assessment, and that adjustment like a live teacher?
So what I would say is, one, nothing's going to ever replace a live teacher, right? Nothing's going to ever replace a live teacher. And our resources that we support teachers to have tools at their disposal. But I would say, and forgive me, I don't know how old you are. I was born in the 1900s, right? And what we experienced curriculum-wise, especially with mathematics, there was a heavy emphasis on memorization, right? A heavy emphasis on memorization. And that didn't really serve our entire population well. And what seems to happen is as the kids got older and older and older, fewer and fewer kids
Right.
were really functioning on grade level in mathematics.
Right.
And what a lot of teachers back in our day did, the recipe for that was practice, practice, practice. The shift in standards that's happened, well over a decade ago, but you see it in a whole host of states,
Hmm.
it really balances the drive of students having procedural understanding and conceptual understanding. And that
Okay.
conceptual understanding isn't always handled by just giving them a lot more practice problems, which is why we as a tool, like we focus on instruction.
Hmm.
So teacher-led instruction, right? Both at the tier one grade level and to support them with tier two and tier three teacher-led. And as a complement to that, online lessons that are designed to teach or reteach content that the student may or may not have mastered. So it goes deeper in support than just giving them online practice and saying, here's the online practice you need. It's
Right.
really like, do you understand what a unit fraction is?
Right.
Right? Do you like where, and it's really hard to diagnose where exactly that gap is when you're talking about, you know, 5, 6, 7, 8 years of content, like
Right.
where it lied and just remediate it by giving them practice. It's the instruction that's powerful.
Where does iReady and Curriculum Associates come out on the issue of AI? Along with screen time, the use of AI, kid-facing AI by teachers in schools has been a big concern. Is AI built into iReady to the assessment and pathways, or is that something that you don't do and would never do, or where are you on the IA front?
We are, I think, like most folks, right?
Sorry,
We are
AI.
right on the AI front. I think, like most folks, we are in the sort of learning phases.
Okay.
Um, what we have looked at, like, I'll give you two examples. One is teacher facing AI support, kind of like if you would go to a website and you'd have an AI on the side that you could like ask questions to find specific resources, right?
Right.
Then for a deeper level, we've been like really, really thoughtful and intentional. A few years back, we purchased with a voice AI lab company
Hmm.
to help with essentially lit tasks, comprehension, things of that nature at the like phonemic and those sort of levels and above and reading.
Okay.
We partnered with them a few years back, and what we've done is we've had some strategic pilots over the past few years to actually get feedback on what folks think, how that's going. It has not been released into product for that specific reading product,
Right.
but
Right.
when it is, educators will have choice. Like, is this a tool we're going to use or is this a tool we're going to not use? It is not, I'm missing the right word, but it's not like just like in our products thrown in haphazardly,
Right.
how it
Right.
is like we're piloting this thing with specific districts, getting feedback.
Right.
And when we have that feedback and we're ready to launch for the
Mhm.
ELA, the districts will know and have a choice as to whether they are going to just use their regular lit tasks and things of that nature or use this AI software.
Right.
So that's
Well,
how
I
we're
think,
thinking about it. We're
yep.
being really thoughtful about it. It's not like ooh, this is the new cool thing. Let's just do it everywhere. Does that make sense?
Right. It does make sense. I know some people have felt the need to rush. I read a story recently about Khan Academy and Conmigo. It sounds like things didn't end up in an ideal way. And I know that schools, at least some of them, school districts and parents are concerned about um, not AI that's not ready for prime time being put in front of kids
Yeah.
um, in a way that's not going to be helpful to anyone.
Yeah, our focus, Alex, isn't on like what's the latest and greatest technology. Our
Right.
focus is on deep partnership and outcomes. Over a third of our staff, they're dedicated to service. They're actually in schools working with educators, not just to understand an assessment or to understand a specific piece of technology,
Mhm.
but it's the notion of tying rich data to high quality instruction. How are we moving our kids tier one? The kids that need additional support, whether it's in Spanish or, a whole host of other mediums. How
Mhm.
can we support them within the time in that school day? And so that's really where our focus is. It's all about outcomes for kids,
Mhm.
giving teachers the best supports they need for
Okay.
effectively a tough year.
Speaking of supporting schools, I'm curious, what do you do if a school or a district is struggling with what I'm going to call underuse? The kids aren't getting the assessments and the minutes that would help them, or that have been purchased, for lack of a better word, or intended. And what do you do on the other side with a school, classroom, or district where the you can see that the tool is being maybe overused, not in a malicious way, but just in an accidental way. Are either those do either of those happen, and what do you do?
So I think the best way to explain that is in our service touch points, we have like teams around service that have several touch points a year to just talk about one data, right? So in there are conversations and opportunities there to talk about like student data, and that student data, of course, belongs to the school, and it is all around math and reading, right?
Right.
Then on top of that, we have districts that we consult with in terms of a service plan, where our folks will be there, boots on the ground, right, communicating,
Hmm.
and the teacher is the driver, right? So what we do is we come in as a support team and we say, okay, here's the data. Can you tell us, what this data is, inspiring or reflecting, what's actually going on, and how
Hmm.
can we best support you, right? So we do have conversations if a district, and it is rare, like if a district purchased and underused and overused, we do have those conversations to say, hey, here is your data, right?
Hmm.
This is what we're seeing on the platform.
Hmm.
This is, what we recommend, what's feasible with all the great things that you're doing in your district. That's the that's where it is. It's a consultative support, but the leaders, the teachers,
Got
they're
it.
the center, they're the driver. They've got a
Got it.
host of tools to manage. So
Got
we
it.
just give them, we give them that grace. They have their data and we discuss it with them and then they make decisions.
Okay, that's helpful. I'm so glad you're here talking with me. I was glad to see that there was a op-ed of sorts in the Fordham Foundation's publication, giving the Curriculum Associates perspective. It's important to me that that everyone gets a fair shake, and also that there's light as well as heat, and things have gotten very, very heated. Um, is there a place that you would urge? And of course, the school and the district could decide what they wanted to do with the request. But is there a place, or are there places that willing reporters could go and really understand iReady in all its forms, sort of as it is, as opposed to what a parent or two or an advocate or two had to say? Where would
But
I go if I wanted to
that's a
really
good
get
that's a
iReady?
good that's a good question. I'm not I don't know if I'm qualified to say like where the reporter should go. What I can say though is like most conversations, more voices are better, right?
Okay.
Like we partner with a host of districts, and that partnership is both like professional learning, right? Data
Mhm.
meetings with their data, conversations,
Yeah.
and every district, every year, right? They can keep us or break up with us.
Right.
So that's like a decision that districts make yearly based
Mhm.
on, the data that they're seeing,
Mhm.
and what their directive or strategic initiatives are.
Okay.
So I
This
would
is
say
helpful.
talk to more educators because
Got
there's
it.
a lot more voices out there.
Is the are the people that are working with you? Is that a list that you make public? Is that a list that they make public? If someone called you and said, "Hey Ty, I want to go to a school in
Yeah, I don't,
my region,"
from my knowledge, I'd have to. I may not be the best person to answer that, but I don't think so. Like I don't think we haven't had an experience yet, and maybe someone else in the company has, but where a reporter calls and says, "Is this district using you? Can I go talk to them?" That
right.
hasn't that hasn't happened. I'm probably not the
Um,
best person to tell
well,
people what to do with that. We
that's
more than
fine.
likely would say, that's like, we're not gonna discuss that. Like, we wouldn't, that doesn't seem like something we would do. Um,
Okay.
but again, I may not be the best person in that regard.
No, no, no. Well, I'll keep asking, and
Yeah.
I'm full of unsolicited suggestions for what education journalists should do. You don't have to be, but I am, and I'd really like more journalists to go and see these programs up close, firsthand, to add the. There's nothing like being in the room and watching it happen to get a
Right.
sense of what's really going on. I don't
Right.
care how many people you talk to if you haven't seen it going on. It's going to be sort of abstract or maybe even exaggerated, is my experience. So I'm going to encourage folks to call and try to get themselves into a school so that they can see what's really going on.
Yeah.
I don't want sorry to rant, but I don't want uh, good products, good approaches to go away. I also don't want ineffective solutions or things that have been sold into schools that don't work. Um,
Yeah.
but
I mean, again, that whole, like, the reporting angle thing, not my universe. But
yeah,
what I would just say is, I think if more folks saw the good things that were happening in classrooms,
right.
right? I think it would I think it would change the conversation. And I think teachers, educators would get a lot more support.
Excellent. Ty Holmes, thanks for taking the time to talk to me and to talk to a lot of education journalists about what you do and how it's going. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you, Alex. Have a good day.